I am a husband, a father, a writer. I spend a lot of my time doing one of those three things. I really enjoy writing. I really enjoy sharing stories, having good conversations. So I'm excited for this conversation.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Words with That One Lady.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. And today I am excited to have a guest in the house, my one and only very good friend, Mr. Tobi Nifesi. Okay. Hi, Tobi. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi Rose. I like that you call me Mr. Tobi Nifesi. I don't hear that very often. People just call me Toby. But no, I'm happy to be on the show. I am a husband, a father, a writer. I spend a lot of my time doing one of those three things. So that's how I describe myself. And I really enjoy writing. I really enjoy sharing stories, having good conversations. So I'm excited for this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to have you. I mean me, myself, and I. Anyway, so guys, today we're going to be talking about self-care comparison. We've been talking about this over and over again for a little bit now. And the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with me is because I think we've had several conversations in the past, and I feel like this is going to be a good avenue to hear from his own perspective how he feels about this. And for me, I feel like Toby has a very, very dynamic type of life and dynamic kind of career. And sometimes I always want to know, do you feel like you exactly, like, this is, I don't believe this was exactly what you wanted to do. Everything you're doing right now is exactly what you wanted to do, right?
I mean, I always wanted to be a writer, but I never kind of thought of it as something that was possible for like for the longest time growing up. I didn't think it was like an actual profession, or so I was told. So yes, it's what I wanted to do. Maybe not in the exact way I thought I would do it, but it's moving in the right direction.
So my question now would be, did you ever feel like, no, you're not doing enough, or you could do better in comparison to your peers? Or do you ever feel like that?
I've felt like that a lot of times, like obviously in different environments and in different capacities. Like maybe in school, I definitely felt like, oh, maybe I need to like catch up to some other people who are doing better. When it comes to career, I felt like some people, they moved at a faster rate while I was moving at a slower pace. Um, and I think I've also felt like, maybe uh, I need to pivot. I need to try different aspects of writing to actually like get closer to where I need to get to. Because I'm just watching other people in other other writing careers. I'm watching them get to their goals faster than I was. So I've definitely felt like that. I feel like that's a normal feeling. Like if I'm being honest, I feel like
Is it though? Is it really normal? And why is it not? I won't believe that now we just normalize it.
because I feel like we're always looking at other people. Like we spend a lot of
Yeah.
our time just looking at what other people are doing. Like whether it's on social media, whether it's in the boxes that we find ourselves in, like our friendship circles. We spend a lot of time just like observing. Maybe I should speak to myself. I feel like I spend a lot of time observing what people are doing, and at some point I had to like switch that around and spend more time paying attention to what I'm doing. Well, I think the way human beings are normally, the way human interactions happen, we are always like looking and we're always paying attention to something else. Like, and so we're always taking in some kind of information, and that kind of that information we process it in some way, and we kind of think about people in a certain way, and we're like, and then we naturally just compare ourselves to that information that we're having about other people. So yeah,
agreed. But like, instead of in my brain, when I think about what you just said about collecting information on a daily basis, because of the human beings or individuals around us who collecting information, why not use that information? It's just me being inquisitive about the human brain. Why not use that information to maybe try to plan your own path and not say, oh, why can't I get there already? Or why can't I be there already?
Yeah.
Instead of using it to plan our own path. And so, oh, that person did this to get here. Okay, I'm going to do this to get here. But rather, we then begin to compare ourselves and begin to do oh, I wish I was there already. Oh my God, look at this person's already there already. Like, it's very interesting how our brain works.
It is. It is. And I don't know if it's just that naturally we like to look forward to things, human beings. Like, we like to have like an end goal, everything. If we wake up in the morning, we are hungry, we need to eat, so we're looking forward to the food. Or we're looking forward to an activity that day. If we, if you're told to go to school, then we're thinking about graduation. We want to get to the graduation days at some point. It's just always like an end goal. And so we are always looking for the new end goal or the new thing to push for. And then if we see that thing in someone else, I think naturally we just gravitate towards it, that, okay, that's what I need to get to. I need to get to that thing.
Agreed.
So I don't know, maybe that is, I probably need to get a neuroscientist to join this conversation. But I don't know, maybe that's how our mind works. We just need to have something to work towards. And if we see that in someone else, we just naturally just gravitate towards that instead of like focusing on what we really want.
Yeah. Exactly. So in that line, when you begin to think about things in that way, what's your next line of action? Like, what do you do to make sure that you don't because this kind of things can overwhelm you. It can put you in a spot where you begin to ask yourself, okay, or I don't want to say overwhelmed, like you begin to get confused. You confuse yourself with all this information. You get this, you get this, you get this, but you have your own goal. You have what you want to do. Then these things begin to put you in a space that are not, like, sometimes might be detrimental to your mental health or to your life career or your life goals. So what do you do in that regards when you begin to find yourself comparing or begin to, get all, like you said, these informations, you collect them and begin to personalize it? What do you do in that regard? What do you do personally?
So I'll use an example. And this example has nothing to do with careers. It has more to do with physical attributes. I feel like when I was trying by the year, I was probably like 10. When I was 10, I think I just learned about, how they talk about like genetic traits in like biology or whatever those science classes were in junior secondary school. Talk about genetic traits, and they kind of let you know that, if your parents are tall, you're likely going to be tall. And you have that, like, that calculation that you do, big T, small t, all those things. Yeah. So I think I just learned about it in school for the first time. And I'm like, oh, shit, I need to calculate what mine would be. And my dad is like, was average height. So he's big T, small t. My mom is really short. She's small t, small t. So I did the calculation. Like, there's a 1 in 4 chances that, one of us, the kids, would be average. The rest of us would likely be shorter. So I wasn't sure. There are 3 of us in my family, 3 children. So I wasn't sure which one I would be. But then I didn't want to be the small t. And then I looked at my peers and I'm like, this makes sense. Some of them are taller than me. I was like 10 or something, or 9. So I started eating a lot of beans. I started like doing stretching exercises in the morning. I started doing all of those things because I'm like, I need to like make sure that, I become the big T, small t. And then I think maybe after 6 months, I'm like, I realized, this is pointless. Like, I've probably already, been, whatever I'm going to be has probably been determined.
I've been assigned to you, exactly.
No matter what I try to do, this is who I am. So I just need to like go ahead with it and just like let it happen. I'm 5'7" today. Well, so definitely I'm not tall. My dad was still taller than me, so I'm probably small t. But I guess my point is that no matter what I tried to do back then, like, who I am is who I am. And even if I was looking at my peers, I'm like, oh my God, I think this guy's on the way to becoming big T's, and I don't want to be too far behind. I had to come to realization at that age that no. Like, I am who I am, and I need to accept that, and I need to like flourish within that, like it's not a disadvantage.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's the same thing when it comes to careers or when it comes to like life.
Right.
Like when you see people become certain things, or when you see people on this track to become a certain thing, and we're kind of looking at ourselves like, I need to get there. I think the right thing to do, which is not always easy, is to just reverse our perspective and be like, no, this is who they are. This is who I am. I have my own path, and I just need to like figure out that path that I'm on and be my best at it. Push it as far as I can take it. And if I'm successful, great. If I end up being average, at least I tried my best. But I feel like the more we kind of know ourselves, the better it would be for us, like as we move forward, as we grow in whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's the
True.
perspective I try to take when I catch myself comparing myself with someone else. What do you do?
And for me, when it comes to my comparisons, I always bring myself back to what exactly got you to this comparison spot in the first place. Why? It's always like the why, and the reason why I do the why is because sometimes we do this, like you just mentioned, and tell myself that no, just like you're who you are, you already have a destination, you know what you're headed to, and you have to stick to that. But sometimes we always would come back to that comparison over and over again, except we ask ourselves the important question, which is, why did you get to the comparison place in the first place? How did you get there? What drove you there? Did you think you're not doing well yet at what you're doing? Do you think you're failing at some things? That's why you're doing this comparison. Do you feel like there's some things you want to, do better at? That's why you got to this comparison. Then work on those things so that if you see someone else tomorrow again that is doing great, you will not compare yourself, because you know that, oh no, I'm on a path, I'm on a trajectory, there's something else I'm headed to. So I am happy and glad for them that they're doing great, but we have a destination. So keep to it, Rose. And for me, one of the biggest reasons why I'm having this conversation that I've been going over it in the entire is because I grew up in a home where, as much as self-love and all that was preached, there's a little bit of comparison with others. You know, that kind of thing where in the African home, everybody say, do you have two heads? People that had the 100 over 100, did you have two heads? Even when you have 95 or something. Or like, can't you see that person is doing well, is doing this, can't you do well, why can't you be like them? And he always put me in this very annoying, and I used to get angry. My mom will never forget that, because till to the day we still talk about it. And I'm like, do you know how much I hated how you compared me with people? And she's like, yeah, I get it, but it was to spur you on. And I'm like, I get that it was to spur me on, but it just puts me in a, you're not doing well, you're not doing well. I don't see that spur you on in the first place. So I'd rather that I fix whatever it is that got me to that place where I feel like I need to do something, so that I don't always, because I feel like sometimes we're quick to say, yes, we remember where we are, but it's like fixing the root cause of the problem first, so that we don't always go back, on that, like your comparison spot, which is one of my, it's still a nemesis that we're still working on a daily basis, because no matter how you want to work on it and say, okay, I'm going to change this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to work on the root cause, sometimes you find yourself in the same spot. You mentioned, but bringing the conversation a little bit backwards, you mentioned something about knowing yourself, and we say this a lot, in our day to day. We say it like, know who you are, know who you are. How in the world do you even know who you are?
Yeah, no, I definitely don't have the answer to that question, but I can try. Because I feel like it's a continuous process.
Yes.
So I'm a Christian, and in the Bible, we talk a lot about like New Testament a lot. You actually can boil it down to one thing: building a relationship with Jesus, or getting to know Jesus, getting to know God. And the Bible frames it a lot as like a continuous process, but a lot of Christians kind of think of it as like, once I give my life to Christ, I have this relationship with Jesus. I know he is like, whatever, it's my father, whatever you want to describe it. But that relationship is actually very continuous, and the Bible actually talks about that in a few places. And I think when Christians realize that, their perspective to Christianity changes, they realize, okay, this is a journey. Like, I need to keep reading my Bible, I need to keep praying, I need to keep meditating, whatever. And I feel like it's the same thing when it comes to ourselves. I feel like it's a continued process. I don't feel like we will ever know ourselves fully. Maybe on our deathbed, we realize, oh, this is who I really was,
Oh, I am.
So I think it's a
Yeah.
continuous process because we evolve. Human beings, we evolve naturally. That's how we are built. So, our feelings change, our knowledge changes, our tendencies changes. Like, we mature, and so we just need to, I think we need to spend time, even if it's like 30 minutes a day, being by ourselves, like taking in, the things that we do on a daily basis. So people do this by journaling. They will journal. What did I do yesterday? How do I feel? What did I like about XYZ? What did I like about XYZ? How did that make me feel? What kind of thought process did I have to go through to get to a certain place? Some people do that by journaling. Some people do that by meditating. Some people do that by praying. Some people do that by writing. And I think all of those things, even working out, sometimes if you're just working out, you'll be in a state where like, you're by yourself, you're just like thinking about like different things. And I think that kind of brings you back to center, which is like a yoga term. Brings you back to center, and it just kind of helps you capture in the moment, who you are, how you're feeling and what's going on in your mind. I think doing those things on a daily basis continuously, I think it can help us like, get a better sense of who we are. But it's definitely a continuous process. It's something that we have to be intentional about.
And that's very, very true. To be just as you mentioned, I feel like getting to know yourself is something that we preach a lot in a very wonderful way, but we forget to tell people the process of actually getting to know themselves. And I think the most important trick or the most important way of knowing yourself is actually by spending time with yourself. Because if you want to get even like let's bring it down to the mundane things. If you want to get to know somebody, like you want to get into a relationship with somebody, what do you do?
Spend time
With the person, go on dates and all those things to get to know like the little things about them. Same thing goes for ourselves. Like, how often do you take time to take records of the things you enjoy? How often do you get time to understand the trajectory of your life? And it's not rocket science. I know it sounds very complicated, but taking stock, like I said, journaling, yoga, all those things, and just think back and ask yourself, so what do I like to do? How do I enjoy doing this? Or when do I enjoy doing that? Or what makes me happy? Or yesterday when I went out, was that an interesting outing, or was it a very frustrating one? Okay, I don't think I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. And it's important because when we get to know ourselves and we get to know what we like, what we don't like, where we like to be, it helps us to be able to teach, well, maybe not teach people, but tell people, when we meet them, that this is how I like things and this is how I don't like things, or this is what I prefer, this is what I don't prefer. And it also helps you to know yourself to the extent that when you begin to see other people doing great or doing things that you would like to do, it's either you analyze in your head and ask yourself, this thing that people are doing that I like, is this something that after knowing myself I'm capable of doing, or am I doing too much by aspiring to do what someone else is doing and just do my own thing? Because in the world we live today, so many people are doing things just like their friends, or doing things just like the next person beside them, and they find out like years later that, oh, I don't like any of these things. Was I just doing it because of people around me? And that's where that self-pair comparison comes in, because it's like you've been lost in this loop of doing things like every other person because you saw it as good without understanding you from your own perspective to see if that's what you want to do as well or not. But do you think the society puts so much pressure on us that pushes us into the comparison?
I mean, definitely, I think there's an element of comparison that is driven by, societal norms, driven by the fact that we live in communities. Again, this is why, to an extent, I feel like comparison is an human element, because, like, is it possible to never compare yourself when you're literally beside people every day? Like, when you can see what they're doing, or when you're told that this is the process for doing things and these are the boxes you have to check to be, a good standing citizen or, a representative of a community or something. So, you're likely to always like have a standard they are trying to get towards, just being in a community. Like you talked about, growing up and maybe your parents say, the person who came first in class or second, whatever, like, did he have two heads? Like that's, that's the standards, you have to get first without having the second head. And so you have to figure out to do it, Yeah. And like, I personally think they're like good and bad. Like that can be positive. It also can be negative, having that standard, especially as kids. And this is a bit of psychology, but like as kids, the reality is that we don't have like a reference point just as you're growing up.
Yeah.
So you need one. You need to be able to like, you need parent to tell you this is what is right, this is what is wrong, this is the standard you need to get to, and these are the things you have to do to get to that standard. So sometimes when parents will tell you, oh, this is what you need to do, right? Some parents, the way they will do it is they'll give you like they'll show you something. And so the parent telling you the person that came first, that's the standard. It's kind of their way of pushing you. But then I get the negative part because then you can like look down on yourself and think that you're not good enough. But I think as a community, we do that a lot. Like we do that with like creating standards and expecting people to get to the standards. And I think, for us individuals in the community, they get to a certain point where we have to like determine what our own standards are, and I think again, as kids, it's probably difficult, but as you get to a certain age, as you mature, you have to like, detach from that community standard, detach from the societal standard and figure out what your own personal standards are, what are the things that you want to abide by and get to. And so that in that way, we can kind of like, do things that that are more aligned with who we are and what we want. So there has to be a bit of like dissociation at some point in our lives. I don't know what age that happens. Maybe it's 25. Maybe after your first degree. I don't know when you're paying your bills yourselves. I don't know when that's supposed to happen, but at some point it does happen.
No, it does. I agree with you. The decision eventually happens, but it's just what I worry about is the amount of that. I don't know if I want to call the word damage, but the amount of damage and self-deprecation that have happened with this societal standards that come around us all the time before someone then realizes. And then I worry about how do people actually then begin to retrace their steps to a space where they can then grow to be themselves or to create their own standard, because it's not the easiest thing. So imagine that you've been abiding by some full standards for a longest time, and now you realize, oh my God, no, I need to set my own standards and all of this, and you built a whole beginning, like your formative years had been on all of the standards. Like, how do you now get through that spot?
So I feel like this is good for me to learn as a parent of a 19-month-old, because my daughter is in a place where like she's coming to terms with the fact that she's a human being. She can see a reflection in the mirror and she's like, oh, that's me, this is who I am, these are my abilities. And as a parent, I have to encourage her to, do things within her abilities. I have to encourage her to, to do what she wants to do, instead of like discouraging her from like trying to, maybe she wants to see if she can climb something. I have to kind of encourage her to see how far she can push herself in climbing it, and then she needs help. I help her get across the line. So there's a sense of independence that I have to imbibe in her, right? And I think that's something that, culturally, where we are from, I don't think, culturally, I don't think we're encouraged to be independent as much. We are more encouraged to be interdependent, or encouraged to like rely on the people and the systems, the cultural systems around us to get by. You have to do certain things to be able to prove that you're really the son of the soil, you
Good
know.
enough.
So, even down to your career path, like you have to be certain professions to really be like to be on a serious career path, to be taken
Taking
seriously, right?
serious.
So you're not
Yeah.
really encouraged to like find your own niche or find your own path. And
Yeah.
so I feel like for us, our generations as we become parents, now in the near future, I feel like we have to reassess the way we were brought up, understand that the sense of
I know the same
independence
thing.
that we needed, but we didn't have. And
Yeah.
so I think if we encourage that in people earlier on, encourage them to like do things within their own abilities, find what they like, and encourage them to actually pursue it. And if they fail, they fail. If they fail and they fail early, the better for them. They'll figure it out.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I think that's what probably is needed to get to that place where people don't make too many mistakes before realizing what's good for them.
That's true. And just like you mentioned, our parents not, or in the previous generation and the past generation, not encouraging the kids to do stuff, make mistakes, go
Yeah.
there, but rather they're looking at your future already before you're looking at it and beginning to tell you that no, this is the one that will make you great, this is the one that will make you better than what you think you think you would be. But that brings us to this question, for you personally, did you ever get pushbacks from your parents about your profession, your current profession?
Oh, of course, yeah. I never studied anything that has to do with writing or English. I
Okay.
I think from I don't know what age, before secondary school, like I knew that I'm going to be a doctor. Like I knew that was like my path. Like it was already predetermined. It was one of
Did you go to pre-med school?
I did pre-med, yeah. I did my MCAT.
Okay,
I did
good.
everything except go to med school. I literally did everything. Like I was on my way to entry med school. Except the only thing I didn't do was go to class. But yeah, no. So it was kind of predetermined to an extent. Maybe based on certain traits or based on I don't know what I was told. That was the path I was supposed to be on. But what I'll say is, that was the part that they put me on for my mom specifically, because she writes. She's written books.
Oh wow.
She runs a school. Our dad was a principal as well, and her dad was a writer as well. So like she writes on the side. Like she doesn't see that like a main profession, but she does it. And so she knew that I liked to write from a young age, and so she would encourage it, although she wouldn't like encourage it to the full extent of it being a career. So when the pivot came and I said, no, I'm not going through with med school, I'm going to stick to writing career and figure it out. They didn't initially understand, but I think little by little, my mom came around to it. I was like, you know what? She doesn't know how to work out, but she knows that writing is definitely a skill and definitely something that could be helpful. It could be a career, maybe. My dad definitely took a while to understand it, and I don't think that my dad really came around until maybe when I published a book. And I think it was like, okay. Or maybe when I was either when I published a book or when like I was on national publications, like I was writing articles for like Maclean's magazine and stuff like that. So
okay,
but there was definitely pushback, and there were a lot of conversations. But yeah, no, I think that is part of the course. With a lot of our parents, they have to take some time to really grapple with certain career paths.
and of course, that's quite interesting that we deviated into a little bit, because I know that our parents have like the things they have in their head about us and how they'll see us in the future and all that. With that conversation with your parents happening and them trying to grapple what you were doing, how then did you sort forward to telling yourself, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it, this is me, and I'm sure in that moment they were like, oh really, this person's son, didn't you see this person, they are doing this, like why do you want to do this? How then did you grapple with that reality and telling yourself that, you know what, this is what I still want to do and I'm going forward with
Funny
it?
enough, and I have to give my parents credit for it. They never actually compared me with someone else. They always kind of
That's great.
compared me with the vision that they had, or the yeah, like the vision that they had, or the the conversations that they had with me when I was like 6 or 7 or 8. I'm like, I didn't even know who I was at 6. I wasn't fully formed, but so in terms of the conversations I had with them, I think these conversations started like they were subtle conversations. Like I was studying biology, and while I was studying biology, I would look for jobs on the side that had to do with writing. I would look for like opportunities to write, and so whenever I got one, I would tell them that I'm doing this on the side. I'll like keep them updated that this is what I'm doing, and so when it got to the time to go to med school, I had a job. I had gotten a job as to write for a newspaper, the local newspaper. So, when we had that conversation, like the really big conversation, it was more like, hey, see, you're either going to have to spend another 7 years of like I don't know how much on this career, and I'm also probably going to have to like go through a lot of what we've gone through in the past few years, or I can just start my career now and figure out like what its writing could look like. So those are some of the conversations I'm having. Like I had like what I can call receipts to show them a see. This is in the time that I've tried to like figure out this writing stuff. This is what I'll be able to do. Medicine might work out, but I don't know. I told them like how I felt about my biology degree. Like just from the biology, I knew I couldn't continue with sciences. I wasn't interested at all. I told them what I thought like would happen if I keep going with this career path. So I kind of laid out all of those things to them, and then I left them to process it while I did what I was doing. And yeah, so I think that's what I did. I kind of showed them proof. I kind of did my best to be transparent, keep them updated, and I let them decide or come to terms with it however they wanted to come to terms with
it. No, I would say that you put in the work. You did put in the work because 3 books, Domestic, The Budget Theory, and React. That's like amazing work that you did. So
thank you.
Yes, you were on the right path. I'm glad that you did not you kept up with the faith, because I know a lot of people who were in the shoes or who are in the shoes and decide to please the parents, and it's almost like a very, very difficult thing to do, because you begin to have this self-doubt of do I really know what I'm doing? Is this okay enough, or am I pushing myself to something I'm not supposed to be in? So like that self-doubt is there. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking. Like it's tricky.
Yeah, no, it's definitely tricky, and with self-doubt, like I feel like you just have to prove it to yourself. Like the only way you can get rid of doubt is to try. Like you should actually do the thing and see if you can actually do it. So again, incremental steps, like start small, like do something. If there's a part you want to get into, maybe volunteer first in that area and see what that feels like, and then test the waters and see. Until you kind of push yourself, you don't really know what you're capable of, right? So, yeah, that's how I dealt with that.
Agree. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And as I begin to wrap up this episode, the question I would like to ask you is, what would you give to someone, or what would you say to someone that is, they're in a mix of, I'm not sure I know what I'm doing. I see people doing amazing things. I know where I want to go, but it's just continuous confusion. What would you tell them?
You're right. Yeah, you don't know what you want to do. It's confusing. There are a lot of reasons why it looks like the people they are looking at probably have it figured out and you don't. All of those things may be true, but there is always a choice every time in life. Like my friend told me that like a couple years ago, and I realized that's true in life. As long as you're breathing, there's always a choice. You can decide to stick to what you have, or try to figure out what's on the other side. It's always a choice. And so, you may be right. Other people might be figured out, they might be better off than you do, or you may be wrong. And you just have to like push yourself to and prove it to yourself that, nah, they're not that good. I'm just as good. I just have to like, work within my abilities and, see what I'm made of. So that's what I'll say to them. Like, I think a lot of things in life generally is just boils down to trying, and it boils down to failing, and it boils down to trying again. Like it's a simple formula. Until we try it, like we don't really know. So
yes, I agree. For me, I would always say do it afraid. Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it's sounding or seeming like, oh my God, I don't know, I'm confused. Do it afraid.
Yeah.
Just do it. And it's okay to fail. It's totally fine not to know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phew. Exactly. Anyway, Tobi, thank you so much for joining us today on this podcast. It's a great time always conversing with you out of the numerous knowledges and wisdom that you uphold. Guys, if you want to know more about Tobi, go check him out at his website. I'm just gonna read that out quickly: www.tobinifesi.com. And he has 3 books, guys. Go check it out: Domestic, The Budget Theory, and React. My favorite still The Budget Theory. And I know that I've not read 2. Yes, it's still my favorite because I feel like I've not read the other ones, but I feel like they're doing better. But I'm like, this is still my favorite right now. So I read the rest. But you guys should go check his book out. He's on Goodreads as well as Tobi Nifesi. And he also has a podcast with his beautiful wife, How Does This Sound podcast. And you go check him out as well. And they have amazing conversations. If you want to know more about career and all that stuff. And great conversations. I was on the podcast a while ago too. So yes, guys, go check it out. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for being on our podcast as well. This is actually one of my favorite podcasts. Just putting it out there. So, if you're listening to this podcast, you have good taste. I'm happy that you're here, but I'm also happy to be part of the conversation today. So thank you, Rose.
Thank you so much for having me. And guys, till next time, have a wonderful day.
Bye now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, do not forget to like, comment, and share this podcast with your friends, family, or anyone you think that would benefit from this episode of the podcast. Also, do not forget to rate the podcast on whatever podcast application you listen on. Please do that so that others can be able to see and find our podcast and enjoy what you're also enjoying. Did by any chance you have comments that you think you don't want to share in the comment section, go ahead and look in the description box and you will find our email address and you can reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, thank you for listening again and have yourself a wonderful day.